Yo, so here we are in the gym, and as promised, I'm going to tell you how to get the perfect boulder shoulders. So to start with, I always do a little warm up. The shoulders, you can use a band, that's the easiest way, but you can just hook up the cable there and just do some warm ups for your shoulder. I'll go outwards this way, keeping my elbow pinned towards my side, and then I'll also turn this way and keep my elbow like that and warm up my shoulder that way. That just stops any sort of crunchy behavior when I'm doing any of my pressing or any of my raises.
That's the perfect scenario.
So how do we actually get that rounded, all-round boulder shoulder look? The first thing you have to do is stop being a statistic. So the main muscle that the average gym goer neglects and doesn't train as much as everything else is actually the rear delt. And the muscle group that the average gym goer actually overtrains and doesn't neglect the most on the opposite end of the spectrum is the front delt, because the front delt get obviously utilized when you are doing any sort of pressing movements. A lot of when you're doing chest, you're also engaging that front delt. And on a shoulder day, I often see people doing shoulder press. They might do some side raises, they'll do some front raises, they'll then do some upright rows, front raises, and all of the overhead pressing is all going to be smashing that front delt, which is good. You do need that. But the main thing is going to be that rear delt.
Yeah, buddy.
So if this is you, and if you have been neglecting the rear delt, then you need to put your rear delt exercises at the front of your workout. However, today, because of my plan that I'm currently doing, I will be doing them second in my plan. For me personally, I have done my rear delt first in my plan for the last however many years. So just recently, I've actually switched it around, and I use the Smith machine now, and I will do behind the head pressing as my first movement, and then I will go into shrugs, then I will go into a dedicated isolation of the rear delt. So I'll show you that now. I'm not going to bore you with every single set on here. What I tend to do at the moment for my shoulder workouts, I'll work up to a heavy set. Often that for me that is around 100, and then I will do a big drop set off of that, and that will be like the first time I'm doing till failure. On every single drop I'll do till failure, to the point where I cannot push it back up again.
Oh, hell no!
This is my second from top, just so you can get an idea of where I'm actually coming down to. If you can't do them behind the head, that's absolutely fine. A lot of people can't do them just for the mobility of it. If it's uncomfortable, don't do it. If it's comfortable for you to do it, then do it. Because there's a bit of a controversial opinion about doing them behind the head, saying it's bad for your shoulders. I think it's only bad for certain people's shoulders. You see a lot of the old school people doing them. I don't get any problems with them, and it really helps isolate the front delt, and it doesn't allow me to take over with my upper chest, which you see a lot when people start leaning back and pushing up like this. You see the top of the chest there, something to engage. So I'll finish up with the big drop set on the Smith machine. I'm now personally going to go onto shrugs. Again, this is a relatively new thing. Don't miss out doing your rear delts first if you have been neglecting them. But this is a relatively new regime for me. It's more of a Kevin Laverny style workout, because that's what he would go from. And it seems to be aiding the things that I need to grow. I want to grow my traps a little bit more and my front delts. So I'm putting whatever needs to be prioritized at the front there. I'm not going to show you everything. If you want to see more of my actual lifts, then probably best to follow me on Instagram, because that's what I'm most active on my stories and stuff. But for now, we'll just do one set on here. And again, I'm only doing one exercise for shrugs today, so I'm probably going to do a big drop set on this. I'll probably add on another couple of plates and then do a 4-part drop set on that and go into failure on each time. But this set here isn't going to be a failure set. I'll just show you how I execute the shrugs. So I let my arms go as far down. That's why the traps is all the way stretched. Come all the way up to the top and control it. Boom. Now onto the juicy part, the bit that will actually get you them capped boulder shoulders look. is going to be the rear delts. Boom, so the pump cover is off. Rest when you're dead. The link is in the channel if you want to go and get one yourself. But let's get straight onto rear delts. So, as I said before, people undertrain the rear delts or they train them wrong. So what do I mean by training them wrong? So the old school method of doing your rear delts would be to sit on the end of the bench like this. This isn't training them wrong, and lifting it like that. As you can see, the muscle of the shoulder that is on the top, which is furthest away from the point of resistance, is going to be the rear delt. So that is the thing that's going to be flexing. Perfect, ideal. A lot of people in this day and age who struggle with the gym aren't going to be able to hold that there and just do that move. What they're going to end up doing is sitting up forwards. And what's now at the top? The side delt, okay? The side delt's going to be taking over, the fists are now out. Side delt's taking over to the point where they're now swinging it up. And even the front delt, again, is coming into play. Remember I said before that the front delt is the most overworked part of the shoulder? Well, again, when you're doing your side raises that you probably have seen in the gym, instead of coming out like this and hitting the side delt, a lot of people are now pigeon winging it or chicken winging it.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Having the arms bent and they're coming up frontwards. Coming up frontwards, and you can see the pressure there. The front delt is now flexing. The front delt is now contracted at that point. Bringing it up, that's what's on top. So keeping it out to the side, you can see the side delt is fully flexed there. Same with the rear delt being downwards here. Now, what you can do is put the bench up. This makes it slightly easier to keep the contraction on that rear delt. So what you're doing is, because your chest is supported, you make a choice to actually be bringing it up and using something else. So you're going to be there, contract your shoulders back a little bit so you're not just loosely hanging, and then coming up, making sure that rear delt is the thing that is on top. Now, the second thing that people do, which is wrong for their rear delts, okay? So they might get the 15 kgs, they're doing the side delts, they might get the 15 kgs, they're doing their front raises, you might be pressing 100 kg on the Smith machine. The rear delt, just in general, is a very small part of your body. It's about the palm of your hand, that big. That is it. So getting that to lift however much weight isn't really going to work. And I see people all the time, they come to the gym and they'll get a 20 kg and they'll go like this, as if they're going to do what I've just shown you, them side raises there, and they'll get the 20 and they're doing this. The fuck is that? The fuck is that, mate? That is not isolating that rear delt and going to give you maximum growth in the rear delt. That is almost doing a row, but like a high row. I'm not saying it's not going to hit your rear delt at all, but it's not very optimal.
Hey, no, stop.
That is the second rule. Do not go heavy for the rear delts or too heavy for the rear delts. 5 kg is not far off of my limit. That feels heavy. Me controlling that up just on my rear delt. One, I'm not going boom and spending no time at the point of resistance. I'm going up, squeezing, boom. The same as with a bicep curl. You don't go, do you? You go up, you squeeze the bicep. That's why people manage to get the development on a bicep, because it's so easy. You come up, you squeeze, and you come back down. With the shoulders, it burns, so they don't want to spend time at the top there. Spend a second, boom, boom, and that's your reps. Not these. That ain't your reps. These ain't your reps. This is your reps. There, boom. Keep the pinkies to the sky, not the fists out to the sky. Not too bad, but having your pinky out to the sky ensures that it's going to be on that rear. You see how I've got a slight bend in my arm, so it's comfortable, not completely out straight, so it's uncomfortable. Slight bend, up we go, boom. Now, again, if you do follow me on Instagram, you would have seen my last story explaining that I was going to make this video, and I was doing a superset between face pulls and this movement. However, I wasn't using the bench, I was doing the old school method. And it got to the point where I couldn't do the 5 kg. So what I done was, I got these 2.5s like this. Boom. because I'm not ashamed to say that that's what I needed to go to. I wasn't being able to get the good squeeze with this. I was sacrificing and going on to using part of my side delt, which you have to be grown enough in the gym to admit and come to that. And once you do that, then you will start building that rear delt.
You didn't have to cut me off.
Now you treat it with the same as every other muscle group. So don't just stick with the 3 sets of 12. Mix it up. Maybe do the 5s or the 2.5s, and then go down to 1.25. Oh, but 1.25 is absolutely nothing. No, you have to start somewhere. I've been doing this for absolute years, easily a decade, and I'm still using the 2.5s. Okay, so you going from a 2.5 and then down to the 1.25, that's absolutely fine as long as you're getting that squeeze on them rear delts. Now that is over. There's variations, obviously, doing that. You can do it on the cable. Again, it becomes a game of trying to concentrate on keeping that onto the rear delt. I'll show you now. So I'll quickly show you now how to actually execute it on the cables without dropping the form. And it's going to be a simple tip. I've used it with a handful of people now, and they will super appreciate this very easy tip that enables them to get that connection with the rear delt. Okay, so you're going to stand there. You've got the cable on the opposite side to what you want to actually be working. I have to duck down here because I put the camera too fucking low. Coming across your body. This is why I like doing the single arm movements. That's the only reason, because you can get a much bigger stretch. Instead of coming there where you would have a dumbbell, you get to stretch the whole way across. That's why the reverse pec deck is also good for the same sort of movement. But again, thumb is on the outside. That's why I'm just grabbing the cable there. If you want to put a handle on, put a handle on, but try and make sure that your thumb or your pinky is going to be the thing that's at the height of movement there. You see that? Boom. What's on top? The rear delt is on top, as you can see. That is the furthest point of the resistance. Now, if you're starting to struggle to keep that tension on the rear delt, just take half a step backwards. By taking half a step backwards and still keeping your arm going out in front of you slightly, you're putting so much pressure on that front delt that it's already engaging from there. From there, that's already fully engaged. Okay, my other arm is resting on that, so my back is as parallel with the floor as it can be. And I'm coming up like that. If I take a step forwards and I'm coming up, I am doing it, but I'm also putting that front under a little bit of pressure because I'm coming again forwards with it. So I'm not getting it entirely on that rear delt. It's the same with the other arm.
Oh God, it's so good.
So now we are at the lat pull down. You're probably thinking, why the fuck are we at the lat pull down?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And we're trying to do shoulders. Because rear delt is actually part of your back, clearly. Doing face pulls on the lat pull down is going to be super beneficial. Does anybody do face pulls with the cables normally? Comment down below if you do. If you do, then this is going to be a massive help because it will stop you playing that game of fight the weight. When you're trying to get the balance, and then you're trying to think of you pulling your rear delts, takes all of that out of it. You are completely secured in here, and there is no balance in it, and there is no struggling with the weight. You're still doing exactly the same movement. Although some people might look at you weird in the gym, this is absolutely brilliant for rear delts. Boom, there. You're bringing it high, exactly the same face pulls, but look, I'm not struggling to keep the weight and all that. I'm just squeezing my rear delts, my elbows are keeping high, thumbs are down, pinkies are still up. You see how that's a staple throughout all of this? My pinkies being high. And I can feel at the top here, I can feel both of my rear delts on both sides squeezing. My elbows are high, and I'm bringing that towards the top of my face.
Wasn't that delicious?
You can use a bar also, but again, keep your elbows high and bring it up towards your face. So having said this, and having said that it's part of your back, when you do back day, anything that is a high row and wide is going to be hitting your rear delt to some degree. So if you go into a back day and you are just doing lat pull downs to your chest here, or close grip pull downs and rows, standard rows on the bench like this, you're not going to be getting that much engagement to your rear delts. However, if you are doing exercises like this, for example, when I mean high and wide rows, I'm talking about these, and you're coming here, and you're coming up like that, where your elbows are high, your rear delts are going to be playing a part. And sometimes you're doing with the barbell, again, high and wide, you're going to be doing your rear delts somewhat. So if you've done a load of high and wide rows, and then the next day you try and smash your rear delts, keep in mind they are going to be pre-fatigued from the day before.
Party starts, goddammit.
Going back to what I said earlier about how I was on here and I went to the 2.5s. One of my supersets, just for an example, was using this. I was actually using the bar, so I will show you, just so if you're confused or you don't know what to add in, don't know how to make it intense, this will be super easy. Again, you don't need a massively heavy weight on this. Keep the bar high, elbows like that. I'm not rocking back and forths. I'm squeezing my rear delts at the top there, boom, like this. Keeping the elbows high. Do maybe 10 or 12 reps on there, and I'll spam round straight away, so there's no break in between. I'm getting the 2.5s, and I'm doing the same method that I've done on the bench, but I'm just here stable, and I'm coming up with the 2.5s. Boom, there it is. That is how you can get bolder shoulders by not neglecting and training the rear delt properly. Don't be a statistic. I've made all these mistakes. I've went too heavy on it before. So now I can tell everybody else how to get the most out of training their rear delt. And you can really tell the difference between someone that trains a whole shoulder. Look, I've only done a few just to show you there, and you can already see that rear delt is starting to pump up. And that just creates a huge round shoulder, an all-rounder shoulder. When someone doesn't do that and they mainly just do the front and side, you have the front and side coming up, and you don't get this big roundness coming from the back, which doesn't create the bolder shoulder look. Unfortunately to say, doesn't create it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to the channel below, like, comment, all that good stuff. Until next time, let's make some gains. Boom.